In this video, I will show you how to easily make plant tissue culture media for the first time. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm super excited because I'm not only going to show you how to make plant tissue culture media for the first time, I'm actually going to teach you 3 ways to make plant tissue culture. So the first one is how a professional makes plant tissue culture media. So let's say if you work on a research lab. The second way is how you can make tissue culture media if you are like a small business or you are doing this for as a hobby. And the last way is how to make tissue culture media for the first time. So let's say you are not sure, you just want to give it a try on plant tissue culture, and I think this is the best way on how to get started without spending a lot of money. So let's get started. All right, let's go. So the first way I want to show you is how professionals make plant tissue culture media. And there are 2 reasons why I want to show you this method first. The first one is because I want you to keep watching the video until the end. And the second one is because I believe that it's better for you to watch basically the entire process on how professionals make plant tissue culture media so you have a better understanding. And then later on, I want to show you ways where basically we use the same materials or very close to the same materials or very similar, but we use, like, let's say cheaper materials, or we use maybe we can use ways to make it a little bit easier and faster and definitely cheaper. So this is the way how professionals make, which uses a little bit more expensive equipment, and it basically you have to follow every single steps. Later on the other methods I want to show you, there are some, I want to teach you some ways where you can make things a little bit easier and cheaper. So how to make plant tissue culture media like a pro. This is a great way to sterilize large amount of media. So we make media in media bottles instead of like the containers. And this is how most research labs make tissue culture media. Basically because when we use a lot of antibiotics or like a non-heat stable plant growth regulators, that we have to add them to the media after we sterilize it. So that's why when we make plant tissue culture media, even if it doesn't have any plant growth regulators or like antibiotics, we make it this way because we are trying to make it this way. So every single time we make media is the same. Sometimes you have to add the plant growth regulators or the antibiotics after we sterilize. Sometimes we don't have to, but we want to keep everything as consistent as possible. That's why we always make media in the bottles, and we sterilize the containers, the tissue culture vessels separate. So with this method we pour the media in the hood. So this is great if you have a laminar flow hood. If you don't have a laminar flow hood, that's the other 2 methods that I want to show you. So the materials that we're going to be using are a pressure cooker, or professionals don't use pressure cooker, or maybe some use pressure cooker, but most likely they will use like big glass. They will use a really big autoclave. We use Petri dishes. Most of the research is done in in plates, in like Petri dishes. We use tape. So I have my tape. This is just kind of to write and place it on my media bottle so I can write everything that is on the media. We need a 2 liters beaker or like measuring cup like this. This is where we're going to mix the media. We need 1,000 milliliters graduated cylinder, something like this. I will show you why we use one of these here in a moment. We use 1,000 milliliters glass bottle. This is my media bottle like this. We use a magnetic stirrer. Now this is the one I have here right now is a cheaper one. This is like $30. Professionals use like a more expensive ones, and with like most likely with a hot plate, but I don't have one, so I had to I want to tell you that some professional labs may use a little bit better equipment of what I have right now here, but I just don't have it. But like I say, for the other methods, you can use some stuff like this and it still works okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. We need a pH meter, so I have my pH meter. This is actually a hydroponics pH meter, which professional labs probably won't use one of these. They will use one of those stand table pH meters that are thousands of dollars. This one is like $200, so it is not like super expensive, but it's still very accurate. But most likely professionals will use something a little bit more advanced and very expensive. But I mean, it kind of has very similar features right here. We need a scale. So again, professionals use like a super accurate scale with like 6 to 8 decimal places. The one I have here is only like $20, and it only has 2 decimal places. But for like plant tissue culture, this is okay. But like say professionals will use something way more expensive. But like say I don't have one of those here in my lab. So we need weight boats. I'll be using portion cups to measure my stuff. I don't have weight boats here at hand. We need MS media with vitamins. So yes, professionals do actually use this media. Not all the times they do make on research, they do add every ingredient separate, but a lot of the times they also purchase stuff like this. This is our MS media from Plant Cell Technology, and it has everything that is needed to make plant tissue culture media. It has all the micros and macros, all the vitamins, and everything except for sugar or agar. We need Gambor vitamins. Like if your media doesn't have vitamins, you want to add some vitamins. So like Gambor vitamins is great, complete vitamins for most tissue culture medias. We need the still water. Most labs they have their very fancy filter equipment, water filtration equipment. They have DI, the still or reverse osmosis water. I have water from the grocery store, which is still perfectly fine. Or you have like just an RO water, that works okay. But professional lab, they have the really fancy DI water filtration system. We need a sugar. So labs, they use like lab grade sugar, which is super expensive. I don't use lab grade sugar. I use table sugar, but use as a demonstration. I will use sugar from the grocery store. We need a plant growth regulator. So I have my solutions of plant growth regulators that are already made. So I have something like IBA and 6-VAP, which is what I want to be using for. That's what I use for most of my media. So that's what I have right here. I do have some other ones like Kinetic, TDC, IAA, and a few other ones, or NAA. But for right now, I only want to be using these two. We need a ppm. This is plant growth regulator from us, from Plant Cell Technology. Here it is. And we need agar or Gelen gum. I'm going to be using Gelen gum for this method, because Gelen gum is more clear than agar, which a lot of times in research is more desirable to have like more clear, like a petri dish or something where you can take pictures for your research papers. That looks better using something like Gelen gum than using agar, which is going to be still transparent, but it's not as translucent. It's not like crystal clear like Gelen gum. It's still like a little bit more opaque. And then we need our solutions for calibrating our pH. So we use one more solution of sodium hydroxide or one more solution of HCl used to to lower the pH. So, and for PP, personal protection equipment, I have gloves. We can use medical gloves, and we're going to be using some autoclave gloves. So whenever I pour in the media, I'm not burning my hands. Okay, so these are the instructions. If you want to pause the video so you can copy them, maybe screenshot. If you want to use it for yourself, then feel free to do so. Because I want to go full screen, so you won't be able to maybe see it as good. So let's get started. So you can see I have my setup right here, everything on hand. So the first step is to pour approximately 800 milliliters of water. 1 second. Let me get this on frame as well. There we go. Well, first thing I want to do is place one of these magnetic rods for my magnetic stirrer. There we go. And I'm going to pour approximately 800 milliliters of water. So the reason I'm doing 800, I'm going to make 1 liter of media, but the reason I'm pouring 800 milliliters instead of like the full 1000 is because I'm going to be adding sugar and all the other ingredients, which is going to add some volume. So if I start directly on 1000 and then I add all the ingredients, then I'm going to end up with more media than I actually needed. So the ratios are going to be not correct. So I want to start with less. It doesn't have to be exactly 800 milliliters. I just need to start with less than of what I need. So at least 100 milliliters less than the final volume, but I want to do like close to 200, so 800 milliliters. So there we go. Next, I want to turn my magnetic stirrer on low. There we go. Next, I want to measure 30 grams of sugar. This a little. A little bit of quite a small space here to work with, so just kind of bear with me, okay? All right. So I'm going to there, and then I'm going to add 30 grams of sugar. So I want to go very slowly. Like I say, a professional will use a scale that has a lot of decimal places. Mine only has 2, but that's okay. But if you are a professional, you want to get it super close to that 30 or to that exact mark. I want to do my best to do the same thing. It should be a lot easier for me because this scale only has 2 decimal places. When it was time I was working in the research lab that I have like all those decimal places, I was like, I need to get it exactly to the 0.00000 mark. So I have 23 grams, 24, 26, 27. It's a little bit more. 29, 71, 70, 96, 95. Okay, so I have 30.08. I'm just going to take a little bit off. 93, 94, a few grains. 97. 30. Oh, almost very close. 98. There we go, perfect. 30 grams exactly. I think the light is a little bit on the way. There we go, 30 grams exactly. Okay. I'm going to get this out of the way. And I'm going to place my my 30 grams of sugar to my water. We have to do this slowly. Well, that was not very slow, but anyways. Now, there is, let me tell you something. There is no like a right or wrong way or like a way or how to add the ingredients. The only reason that I add the sugar first is because it's the one that takes longest to dissolve. So that's the only reason I start with adding my sugar first, and then I add my MS media afterwards, because these dry ingredients, they're going to take a little bit longer to dissolve. Then I add my liquid ingredients afterwards. All right, so I have added my sugar. Next, I want to measure 4.54 grams of MS media. I want to grab a new cup. Had to use a new weight boat. Basically, after you measure something, the weight boat is disposable. You throw it away. For me, I use these cups. I just wash them and reuse them. But in the research lab, you don't wash that. We just toss them away, which is a lot of waste. Well, anyways. Alright, so 4.54. And that's the amount of media you need for the MS media that we sell here at Plant Cell Technology. Some other medias from other companies will have a different amount that you will use, so you need to read the instructions and use whatever is it is set, or whatever is tell you in the label. So I just want to get to too much. 4.55. I just need to take 0.1 off. There we go. 4.54 grams of MS media with vitamins. Perfect. It went up to 3. That's okay. And I'm going to add this to my water. There we go. Perfect. Take this out. Next, I'm going to add 1 milliliter of ppm. So this is ppm. This is plant preservative mixture. This is used to prevent the use of or the growth of fungus and bacteria. Now, I know what a lot of people will say, that a lot of the labs, especially here in the US, do not use ppm. And yeah, that's true, because a lot of the labs here in the US are very well equipped. They can keep a very clean environment. However, there are a lot of places in the world that they still are professional labs, but they use ppm a lot. I mean, even my lab in the university will use ppm as well. Not all the time, obviously, but we will have it always on hand, just to, in case we have some problems with some bacteria or some fungus that we have plants that will especially be like transgenic plants that are very important that we needed to save. We will use ppm just to kind of it's a lot more gentle. Use ppm than using some other antibiotics. Some other antibiotics can stun the growth of the plants, and ppm doesn't do that. At least for like 99% of the plants, you don't see any problems using a ppm. All right, so I have my plant preservative mixture, and I have my micro pipette. So this is even though it looks like a very old micro pipette, this is actually a very good professional micro pipette. And I have it set to 100, which is 1000 microliters or 1 milliliter. So I want to add 1 milliliter using my micro pipette. Oh, sorry, there we go. So I added 1 milliliter. So the recommended dose of ppm is between 1 and 2 milliliters per liter. So I use, because I'm actually with on a laminar flow hood, I only want to use the minimum. And this tip, you do not reuse the tips. You have to throw this away. These are disposable. You do not use this more than once. All right. Next, I'm going to add my plant growth regulators. So I'm going to be making multiplication media. So my multiplication media, I mean, pretty much everybody who watches these videos know what it is 6VA and IVA. That's what I use for my multiplication media on my house plants. So again, I want to grab a new tip. This is definitely not a secret. I mean, pretty much everybody who watches my videos knows what media I use. And if I change it, I'll let you guys know. So 1 milliliter of 6 VAP. Oh, sorry, hit the camera. There we go. And the reason I like to use this plant growth regulator 6 VAP and IVA is because they are synthetic, or they are I mean, IVA, is either natural or synthetic. But the most important part is that they are heat stable, so you can add them before sterilization. Now, I thought, when making or thinking of how I was going to make this video, I thought one of my thing or idea was to not add the plant regulators after I make the media, but I don't have a syringe filter, so I don't have a way to sterilize my plant growth regulator. So I just want to do it this way. Maybe later on, if you want to, I will make a video on how to add plant growth regulators to the media after sterilization. But a lot of the times in the research labs, if I'm using these heated stable plant growth regulators, I will add them before sterilization, and then I'll just pour it normally. If I'm using something that or antibiotics that has to be added after sterilization, then I will add them afterwards. But because I'm using heated stable plant growth regulators, I'm going to add them before. So IBA, I use 0.1 milliliters per liter. So that means is I just have this set to 10, which is 100 microliters. So this is what I need. There we go. So I have added my plant growth regulators. Remember, this goes to the trash. All right, next I need to add the rest of the water to the 1000 milliliter mark, because right now it's close to 900 milliliters, and I needed to add the rest of the water to the 1000 milliliter marks before I calibrate the pH. Now, in a professional lab, you use, or they make you use, one of these. They make you use one of these. This is a graduated cylinder. Graduated cylinders are the most accurate way to measure volume. Something like this, like a measuring cup, they are not as accurate. Doesn't matter the brand you're using. You can buy them even from like the same brand, and you can place it like right next to each other, and sometimes the light doesn't even, the mark doesn't even align. So the way to measure volume, accurately measure volume, is using one of these. This is a graduated cylinder. So what you would do is you take your media, and then you place all of this in the graduated cylinder. And what you have to do next is just to add the rest of the water all the way to the 1000 milliliter mark. So I will do it like this. And you can do this by hand if you are really good, or you can use like a pipette to help you out. So what I need to do is that I have to look at eye level, and I need to make sure I'm on the line. Now, when using one of these graduated cylinders, you have something that is called the meniscus. The meniscus looks, where is my camera? Looks like a curve like this. So when I'm on the 1000 mark, which I'm not yet, let me do that before I continue. There we go, perfect. I'm on the 1000 milliliter mark now. When if I look to at eye level, I see the meniscus. It is very difficult to see on this graduated cylinder because it is made of plastic. If you have one made out of glass, it's a lot easier to see. But you can see that the top line looks like it is a little bit more than 1000 milliliters. But what you cannot see is the meniscus, which is a curve that looks like this, and the bottom of the curve is right on this 1000 milliliter mark. So I know that I have 1000 milliliters. So this is how you accurately measure. This is how you accurately measure volume using a graduated cylinder. So next, now that I have added all my water, then I'm going to place it back in my mixing cup. There we go. And I'm going to turn it back on. There we go. And now I can calibrate the pH. Alright, so I have my pH meter. I'm ready to calibrate my pH. So the first thing I need to do before I do anything else is, or calibrate my pH, is to rinse the probe. So to rinse the probe, I just want to use water, which this is the still water. This is the same water I use to make my media. So I just want to give it a good rinse. Make sure to get all that potassium out. This or the probe storage solution. So just get that water out. Give it a little shake, and then I just want to place it on my media. Want to turn on my pH meter. Now on the research lab, we will have, like I say, use a table pH meter that we will have to calibrate every single morning. So the first person that will get in the lab, that will be their job to calibrate the pH meter. Those pH meters, I really hate those because they are so slow. You take forever to calibrate the pH using one of those because they are super sensible. One of these is, I mean, it's still pretty good, but and they are a lot faster. So I really like to use a pH meter like this, which I mean, it still tells you a lot of information. It still tells you the temperature of the water, the solution, and it tells you a couple things. So this is my ppms that I have right here, and then it can tell you some other information, which I don't really care that much. I only care about the pH, and pretty much that's it, and probably the temperature. I make sure to keep everything as room temperature as I can. So let's calibrate the pH. So to do that, I use sodium chloride, sodium hydroxide. Sorry, not sodium chloride. Sodium. All right. So I use my sodium hydroxide, and if I go over the amount, I will use HCl to lower my pH. Later on, on the other methods, I want to show you some other ways to calibrate the pH, or some other alternatives to sodium hydroxide. So let me use it's a little higher. So I just want to calibrate my pH to 5.8. That's good. It's going to go up probably a little bit over. No, that's pretty good. There we go. So for me, that's good. On the research lab, I will probably have to go up and down, up and down, up and down until I get it perfect to like my exact or my exact pH that I need. For my house plants, 5.8. That's what I do. Some other plants that are in the lab, I will use like 5.6 for some other plants, maybe 5.4 some like carnivorous plants, and then I will go even lower for like a very acidic loving plant like blueberries. I think I was doing like 5.2 or like 5 to 5.2. But for my house plants, around 5.8, that's perfect. So what is next? All right, the next thing, I just want to move this a little bit out of the way. Just give me a little bit more space. Is that I want to measure my my gelling agent. So like I said before, I want to be using gelling gum. So I just want to take a new measuring cup. This, turn this on, and you cannot see it right there. And for gelling gum, you need between 2 to 4 grams. Now for the plant growth regulators, having like super accurate is not like super important, because the only thing that is going to change is how hard the media is. Now you want to, with doing like research, you want to keep it as consistent as possible, because consistency is key in research. So you're doing like 3 grams, always use 3 grams. So that's what I want to do. So I have 121. 97, 98, 3 grams. Perfect. And also the spoons that we use to grab, like let's say plant regulators or your MS media, you use it once and then you don't throw them away. You can wash them. So I have my plant gelling agent. Now, this gelling agent, I don't have to add this directly into my media because I want to sterilize my media in the media bottles. So what I can do is that I add the gelling agent directly to my media bottle because it's going to mix in there, which is going to make it a lot much better than just mix it in the beaker or the measuring cup, because what's going to happen is if I just throw it in here, everything is just going to if I just throw it in here, everything is going to stick to the sides whenever I'm pour it. So I pour it directly in my bottle, and now what I can do, I get rid of my pH meter, and now what I can do is grab my media and then just fill the media bottle. There we go. Now you saw that the magnetic rod actually went into the bottle. That's okay. That's what I wanted, because what I do is after I sterilize my media, I will want to mix it up, and I just I place it back into the magnetic stirrer just to give it a good mix, and then I pour my media. Or if I had to add the plant regulators or antibiotics after sterilizing the media, then I want to add it, to do it while it's in mixing up in the magnetic stirrer. So while it's mixing up, I just add the rest of the plant regulators or antibiotics. So this media is ready to go in the autoclave, or like my case, the pressure cooker. So because this amount of volume, this is a lot of volume, this 1 liter, I had to sterilize it for longer. So normally if I'm doing the individual cups, I do like 20 minutes, but for this I do 40 minutes. This 40 minutes in the pressure cooker or autoclave, and then afterwards you take it out, wait until it cools down, and then you pour it. So I want to show you how to do that next. Actually, before I pour the media, I forgot to show you, but what I do with the tape is that I write the my media in the on the tape, and then I sterilize this. So this goes in the pressure cooker now. Just in case I had to make different types of media, I just write them so I know what is on each. Because I know there are other ways to kind of, some people like to use food coloring. Let's say I'm using one color for making multiplication media, another color for making like routine media. I personally don't like to use food coloring as much, because if you use like a very dark food coloring, like a blue or a green, what happens is that the plants can absorb the food coloring, and then you're going to end up with the leaves or the plants that are going to have the food coloring on it, which is not that great, especially like especially you are doing research, so you don't do that. So you always want to do like put some tape on it with the label, what is it, and also you're using like a more like lighter color, something like a yellow or some other like light color. What happened is that after a couple of weeks, the media is going to turn clear. So if you don't have a market with writing on what is on the media, or like each vessel, then you won't be able to differentiate what media it is, because after a few weeks, then the media, even that you start with yellow, then it completely turns clear after a few weeks. So that's kind of my warning on using food coloring. Alright, so now it's time to start pouring the media. Now before I do that, what I need to do is I need to spray my surface for the laminar flow hood, and I'm going to wipe everything down. Now, I haven't turned on the laminar flow hood. The moment I want to turn this on, the video is going to get pretty loud, so let me actually do that. Luckily, the microphone does a pretty good job on suppressing the sound of the hood. But still, I'm just going to wipe this up, clean it up, wait for like 30 minutes before I pour my media. Alright, so and I want to put my autoclave gloves so I don't burn my hands while I'm pouring the media. And I want to pour the media in the deli containers. These have been previously sterilized in the pressure cooker. So I'm ready to go. The cap. And I just want to freehand it at about 100 milliliters of each. There we go. So that is done. Now that I need to do is just add the lids on top. However, because after the laminar flow hood, I can leave this without the lids for until they kind of cool down, where I can avoid the condensation. Because if I place the lids right now, what is going to happen is they're going to get a lot of condensation. So one way to avoid that, I can just wait for like maybe 10-15 minutes like this, and then I place my lids on, and then I place the lids on top. All right, I have placed the lids now on the deli container. So now what I can do, I can just stack them on top of each other, and then just move them to the side and wait until they solidify. So I can just place it on one side of the hood, while I can basically pour more media at the same time. Petri dishes. These are pre-sterilized Petri dishes. So what I want to do is just spray the bag, place it in the hood, and now this is the way. I haven't poured media like this in years, so hopefully I still get it. I still have it, but I haven't done this in quite a long time. So let's see how it goes. So it's going to spray my hands as well. So let me see if I remember correctly how to do this. So what you do is, you see it has stir here, right here. So what you do is you stir the bag, just carry that, and then you see the letters are like facing like the correct way up, but the plates are actually backwards. They are actually backwards because what you want to do next is you want to flip it to the side or flip it upside down, and just remove the sleeve carefully, and then use this, this. A lot of the times what I would do is I just grab some tape and then just kind of tape it on the side of the hood, just so it kind of is out of the way, but I still keep it inside of the hood so it doesn't get contaminated. So I have my plates right here, and I want to do it the risky way. So the safe way is to place each plate individually like this, and then you pour it like I did with the deli containers. and then just put the list on top. But I want to do it the risky way, and this way I will use this way when I have to when I have to pour a lot of media in plates, and then I need more space in the food. So I already I have my media ready to go. So I want to put one glove, and I want to open this up. I already spray as well. Let's see if this works. So I just need all the space I can get up. Oh man, like I said, I haven't done this in a long time. Yeah, this is definitely not the easiest way to do media like this, or to pour plates, but I just kind of wanted to show you. A lot of people use like a micro or like a pipette, one of those electronic pipettes, and that's very useful. But most times in the lab we just do it like this by hand. And this media that I'm pouring right now is media for seeds. So this media is just MS media, 1/3 MS media with no hormones. I want to be using this for Nepenthes seeds that I got. And now as it's getting going higher and higher, it's getting a little bit easier for me to lift all of the top plates. And usually one sleeve should be 1 liter of media. But I haven't poured media like this in years, so I may end up with more or with less media. So we'll see. I think so far I want to end up with more media, so I think I need to start adding more media into each plate. See, so I end up with extra media because I haven't done this in a very long time. So what I want to do is I want to pour this in some a couple more of the deli containers. Now for these plates, I just had to wait until they solidify, which it doesn't take that long, and then I want to use my put the back on top. So it has been about 20 minutes and my medium has solidified. So let me show you. So I can grab one plate. And look how crystal clear this media is. This is agar, and if I had used a Gelen gun, it would have been even more crystal clear. I can still see a little bit opaque, but with the Gelen gun would have been completely crystal clear. But this is great. This is what you look for it on research, because you have like let's say your seeds. This is a place made for seeds. They have the all of the lines on the sides you can see right here. So you basically you put one seed on the side and then you cannot count, and that's how you cannot take and these are great for like taking pictures. Um, but this is my media that I'm going to be using for seeds. So now let me place them back in the bag. So what I'm going to do is just grab my bag, pick up the tape, open this up. There we go. So I put the whole sleeve, and now what I need to do is I just need to turn it around, back up. And what I do is I just go like roll this back a couple of times like this, and then I just put a piece of tape. Okay, this piece of tape is not long enough. Put a piece of tape like this, and one more like this. You can put like another one just to kind of be a little bit more safe. And let me just, because these are really thin tape, so I just want to put one more. But usually just one on each side. Usually that's pretty good. Next, what I want to do is from the media bottle, I took my label. This is the label that I have on my media bottle, and then I just want to place it in here, and there we go. So I have my sleeve of media with no hormones. That is, I'm going to be use this for seeds. So this is ready to go. So usually in the research lab or in the university, we'll have a walk-in cooler that we just place this in the walk-in cooler and store it for like up to 6 months if it doesn't have any hormones, or like 3 months if it have any hormones or antibiotics. And then if the past have been over 6 months, stored for over 6 months, we just throw them away. Something I didn't put here is the date. So I want to do that. I just want to put the date just right here. So today is August 2023. And another thing that the university will do is I just add my initials on it. But I mean, this is just me here, so I'm not going to add my initials. But this is pretty much everything on how to pour media for like a pro. Alright, so this is the second method on how to make plant tissue culture media. So this method is great for like the hobbyists or like the small business that only makes tissue culture media every now and then. So basically what you do is you make the media and then you pour it before you sterilize it. So you pour everything in your, like, let's say your deli containers, magenta boxes, baby food jar, whatever you are using to make your tissue culture media. You pour it and then you sterilize everything inside the autoclave or the pressure cooker. So this is an easier method to make plant tissue culture media, and this is the method I would use if I don't have like a laminar flow hood, because I don't have to pour it. When I'm pouring, I'm in the sterile air, so I'm not too worried about contamination. But if I don't have a laminar flow hood, I would not want to be pouring media, because that may lead to a lot more of bigger chances for contamination. So the materials will be pressure cooker or autoclave, deli containers. I have my deli containers right here, 2 liters beaker. I have the same cup that I was using before. I just wash it. Magnetic stirrer, the same magnetic stirrer. pH meter. So I do have a 2 pH meters. So I have this one, and I also have this one, which is the one that I was going to be using for this method, but I just kind of like this one a little better, so I want to be using this one. But other than that, I will probably would use something like this. This is close to $80 to $100 pH meter. It's pretty nice, it's pretty reliable, but I do like this one better because it has the probe like this. So I just want to be using this one instead. 1000 microliters micropipette. So on the previous method, I use this micropipette. It's a professional, very expensive. It's very old, but it's an expensive professional micropipette. For this method, I want to be using this one. This one is close to $30, so it's still very good for like your hobbyist or your small business. This micropipette is still very good, but definitely not as good as this one. But I want to be using this one for this method now. Next, we need like a scale. This is the perfect time to use the scale, the cheapest scale. At least you want to get at least something with 2 decimal places. So this is perfect for like this method. I weigh both. Again, I use the deli cups, the small deli cups. MS media with vitamins. So same media I used before. The same media with vitamins. Gumboard vitamins if necessary. The still water, I want to be using the still bottled water that I have here. Sugar, table sugar from the grocery store. You can buy sugar anywhere, very, very cheap. So use that. Plant grow regulators, I'm going to be using the same plant grow regulators. For the now when I was talking about the professional method, I have the powder form, and then I make my stock solutions for plant grow regulators. But for plant grow regulators. But if you're doing this as a hobby or for like a business, it's a lot easier just to purchase the solutions already made. So you can find the plant grow regulators already in solutions, ready to go at the Plant Cell Technology website, and you can find those there, ready to go. We need a ppm as well, and we need like agar or Gelen gum. In this case, I'm going to use agar. In the previous method, I used Gelen gum. Now I'm going to be using agar. And for calibrating my pH, in the previous method, I used sodium hydroxide. This time, you can use for this method, you can find like hydroponics pH up or pH down. That works great as well. Basically, the only reason I use sodium hydroxide for all of this, calibrating the pH, is because I use sodium hydroxide to dilute my plant grow regulators. So that's the only reason that I have it on the lab. If I have my solutions, my plant grow regulators already in solution, I will probably using something like a pH up or pH down or something else, which I'm going to show you in the last method. So, and there are a couple other materials that I need, but I'm going to show you this later as I go on. So this is the protocol or the procedure. So again, if you want to pause it just to have a better look, and it's very similar to before. I use a slightly different. So let me place the top camera. Oh, this one. All right, so let's get started. So first step, just as previously, is to add a magnetic rod in my mixing or like my measuring cup, and I'm going to be adding same thing. I'm going to add 800 milliliters of water, because again I want to be adding ingredients, and that's going to add volume. So I'm going to add about 800 milliliters. Okay. Next, I'm going to add my sugar. So again, 30 grams of sugar. Right, so 30 grams of sugar. Now, with this, the sugar you want to probably experiment. So if you do like 20 to 30 grams, that's good. There is very little difference, but I have done 30 grams and for like the last several batches, and it's just fine for me. So I just like to stick to 30 grams. So, and again, I want to do this just as accurate as possible. It doesn't have to be like this method is like, well, no, you always want to be as accurate as possible, but it doesn't have to be like super perfect. Like, I mean, there we go, super, super close. So 30.02. So that's good. So, so I want to turn this on, and I want to slowly add my sugar. Next, I want to add 4.54 grams of my MS media with vitamins. There we go, that's pretty good. 4.55, 4.54 doesn't really make any difference. So there we go, and then I add this to my media or my water. Let's see. Next, I'm going to add, I don't need this, at least not for now. I want to add my liquid ingredients, so I want to start by adding ppm. So I want to adjust my micropipette to 1000 microliters or 1 milliliter. There we go. So you can see this is different to this one. So they are the same, but this one only has 3 decimal places. This one has 4. So this is, you say, it's 1000, and this will be like, well, right now I said 100 because I did the small measurement, but they are the same. So this 1000 is 1 milliliter. So I just want to grab a pipette tip. And there we go. So I know you can also use like a syringe to add all of these ingredients, but I would highly recommend to just spend a little bit of money on like a micro pipette like this. It just makes your life so much easier, and you are just a lot more accurate than using like a syringe. That's that. Next, I'm going to add my plant growth regulators. So I'm making the exact same media as before. So I want to grab my 6-BAP. It's the multiplication media, which is what I just pretty much do the most. I very rarely make routine media. So 1 milliliter. Perfect. And remember, the tip goes to the trash. Next, I grab my IBA, and then change my setting to 100. So this is 0.1 milliliters. Perfect. Next, what we need to do is add. All right, so next what we need to do is to add the rest of the water to the 1000 milliliter mark. And so far, basically everything has been very similar, pretty much almost the same as the professional way to do make the media. The only difference now is that I'm not going to use the graduate cylinder. I think this is something that if you are doing tissue culture media for your like a small business or just as a hobby, you don't need one of these. It's okay. You can just add the water directly here. Like I say, with a graduated cylinder is like a accurate way to measure volume, but it's okay if you're just doing like this. So I just want to turn this off, so make sure it's a level, and then I just want to add my water. There we go. So now the 1000 milliliter mark, and I'm pretty much done. So that way I basically save, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 minutes of work by not using the graduated cylinder. So that's something that, as these methods, showing you these methods, just a little ways kind of to save a little bit of time. All right, next, let me check my Canva here. So next, I need to calibrate my pH. So let me grab my pH meter. So same as before. I just want to take this, remove the cap with the storage solution. Rinse the probe with the still water. Give it a little to check the water off. Put the probe in the media. Turn the pH meter on. Grab my sodium. For this method, I say you can use pH up or pH down. I actually don't have those because I use sodium hydroxide. So I just want to use sodium hydroxide, but just imagine that you're using like pH up or pH down. So it's very slowly, one drop at a time. And with this one, the main difference of using this micropipette is trying to do like one drop at a time is a lot more difficult than using this other one. It's like the amount of precision that you get from the other one, the more expensive one, is really you can really tell. So there we go, 5.81. This goes to the trash. Turn this off. Now I'm going to measure my agar. So for agar, you'd use somewhere between 6 to 10 grams per liter. So I just want to do 8 grams. So 5.739. Just a little bit. Perfect. 8 grams of agar. All right, now that I have measured my agar, now I basically have two options. So this is where I am right here. So measure 8 grams of agar or 3 grams of gellan gums. I have already done that. So now I have two options. So option one is to heat the media to boiling point to dissolve the gelling agent. Or the second option is to add my my gelling agent to my media, and while it's on agitation, what I can do is use one of these to grab my the media and then just pour it into the deli containers or whatever tissue culture vessels you are using. However, I know there are some people that have mixed results, so if they use this method where they don't heat the media, sometimes they get the some of the vessels, they end up with like very hard media, and there's some that are like a very liquid media, so they don't have a really good consistent gelling agent, or there is no very good consistency. So the best way to kind of avoid that is just to take the time to actually heat the media to the boiling point, so make sure to dissolve or the agars before pouring the media. So that's what I want to do next now. So let me show you. So all right, so now here on the top view, so I don't need my agar, not for now. I just want to put it to the side. Have my induction stove, and I have a induction ready pot. that I'm going to be adding my media, and I'm just going to boil it. So I just want to turn this on, and then I just want to wait a few minutes until I get to boil, and I'm going to add my gelling agent. And it has only been less than 2 minutes, and the media is starting to boil. So it's very incredible how the induction can boil. Induction stove can boil this 1 liter of essentially water super quick. So I just added my agar, and then I just want to use a spoon kind of to mix it up. So I just need to make sure everything is dissolved, all the agar is dissolved. Alright, you can see now that's starting to boil. So I just only going to keep it very, very fast. It's like 30 seconds. Oh, turn this off. It's ready to go. It's ready. So it has been fully dissolved. You can see now that it's crystal clear. Before, okay. Oh, thank you. That's much better now, the sound. Before it was a little cloudy. Now it's a crystal clear. It has all the agar has been fully dissolved. This process. I started at, what is it, 6:30. It's 6:34 right now. When I turned the heat on, so I only took like 4 minutes, less than 5 minutes, and I'm done. So that was very fast. It may not be as fast if you're using another electric stove, or like maybe gas is probably fast as well. But so this is ready. So now I want to do is pour my media. So I want to get rid of the spoon. I want to put my media back in the back on the measuring cup, because it makes it a little easier to work. Now let me clear all this up, and then I'll be right back. All right, now I'm going to add my media. So I just want to, I have a smaller measuring cup here where I want to add 100 milliliters. Let me make a little mark here so it's a little bit easy for me to see. That's 100. So I just want to fill this up to the 100 milliliter mark, and it don't have to be super precise. I just like to be a little bit more consistent. So just going to go ahead. So when doing like deli containers, they all have the same diameter. They use depending on the capacity. The ones that I'm using right now are 8 ounces. The ones that are 16 ounces, they are the same dimensions, except that they are taller. And then you have like another like 12 or like 14 or like 32 ounces. So those are more the common ones. But you can see that all the agar or the gelling agent has been perfectly dissolved. So I don't have to worry about getting some of my or the gel to have like some vessels with like harder gel or some with like a softer gel. There is going to be all of them are going to be consistent. Oops. There we go. So that is perfect. Next, I'm going to add the lids. Now, when adding the lids, I just want to place it on top. I'm not going to close them down. I'm not going to close them because I still need to sterilize the deli containers, or like the deli containers with the media. I haven't sterilized the media. Boiling is not the same. Boiling the media is not the same as sterilizing it. You still have to sterilize it, so you still have to place this in the pressure cooker to fully sterilize and kill everything, all the fungus or the contaminants that they may be in the media. So what I want to do next, I just want to kind of stack them top of each other, and then I just want to place this in the pressure cooker. Actually, let me show you here. So next, so I can see you add 50 milliliters of media for like the Mac boxes. So those are the the boxes like this. So let me hide myself for a moment. So these are Mac boxes. So you add like 50 milliliters of media to this, or if you are using deli container like I'm doing right now, you add like a 100 milliliters. Then you place this in the pressure cooker. Now for the previous method, because we use the entire media bottle, it has a very large volume, 1 liter. I did 40 minutes, but for this, because it's a lot less volume, I only do 20 minutes. Before I show you the third and easiest method to make plant tissue culture media, I want to take a moment to ask you for a favor. So if you are enjoying this plant tissue culture video or videos that we put on the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Only like 30% of the viewers are actually subscribed to the channel, so I think we can get a lot more people informed about plant tissue culture. Next, I also would like to ask you, you can follow us on all social media. So we are on everywhere. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram or Threads. We are on all of those social media. And lastly, if you want to learn more in depth about plant tissue culture, if you want to learn everything, how to do plant tissue culture from your own house, you want to learn everything about it in just 2 days, we have our upcoming tissue culture masterclass this September 23rd and 24th at Washington DC. So make sure to check the link down in the description so you can register for the class. I'm excited. I cannot wait to see you there. All right, so this is the method that you've been waiting for. So how to make tissue culture media for the first time. This is the easiest way I was able to kind of to think about it. This is a way to the easiest method to make tissue culture media. Use this method if you don't have a laminar flow hood. We don't even want to use a pressure cooker. We are not going to even use a measuring scale. So this is a easy way to make tissue culture media where you don't have to purchase pretty much almost, I mean, you only have to purchase the media, maybe just a couple things, a pH meter, because you cannot make tissue culture media without a pH meter, unfortunately. Hopefully one day we can make media which doesn't require to use a pH meter, but for now you still have to purchase one of those. So the materials is a microwave. We're actually going to be sterilizing media in the microwave. That's another way to sterilize media instead of using an autoclave or a pressure cooker. We want to use the deli container, same as the previous method. We're going to use another like a measuring cup as well. So I've been using this measuring cup, this 2-liter measuring cup. However, I actually want to use something else. So my original plan was to use this and then use the spoon kind of to mix it up instead of using, because on this method I'm not going to use the magnetic stirrer. It is very helpful to have one, but if you're making tissue culture media for the first time, you probably don't have one. You are not sure if you're going to be making media for you're just going to test it out and see if it works for you. So you probably something that you can skip, that you may don't have to get immediately. So you can use like a spoon just kind of to mix it up. But on this method, I actually want to use this. So if you have parents out there, you may know what this is. This is how to make like a baby formula. So you add everything in here and then you shake it like this. So I'm actually going to be using this to make my media. Now you're going to need a pH meter. So again, I'm going to be using my pH meter with the long probe. However, you can use one like the one that I showed you earlier. That is much cheaper. However, there are way cheaper pH meters. You can just look it up, purchase on like an Amazon, eBay, or any other like website. You can find those for like less than $20. It's your first time making pH, making a tissue culture media. Just get one of those, one of the very cheap ones, and those work great. Now, those digital pH meters, in my opinion, are pretty much essential, because you can also use the strips, like the pH strips, whatever. Those are an absolute pain to work with, because you have to every time. It's not like it's not telling you what the pH is as you add you're calibrating the pH. You have to test and then check the pH and then and then adjust, and then check again, and then adjust. So you can use the pH strips. They are super difficult to work with. So even if it's making tissue culture media for the first time, I will invest like an extra $20 to get one of those cheap pH meters. You don't need that 1000 microliter micropipette. I forgot to take it out of here because I actually have it here on hand, but I forgot to take it out of the slide. But you don't need it. And now what you can use, what you are going to use. I'm sorry, I'm actually very excited. So actually, it's hard to speak. To measure everything, like the sugar, the MS media, and everything, you are going to be using measuring spoons. So to measure the sugar, you're going to be using 1/8 cup measuring spoon, because this one is close. You use one of these full, it gives you around 25 to 30 grams of sugar, which is what you need. To measure your MS media, you're going to be using 1 tablespoon measuring spoon, 1 tablespoon, which gives you close to like 4.5 to 5 grams. So it is not super accurate, but if you don't have a measuring scale, you probably have one of these, and it gives you like a very close to your measuring that you need. So you can use one of these, and then I have two other spoon which I'm going to show you here what I'm going to use in this later. So this is 1/4 and the 1/8, which I want to show you this later on. I'm going to explain you what I'm going to use this here in a moment. And then you need like water, and then to calibrate the pH, you can use like I'm adding stuff that you probably already have. So baking soda, that's probably something that you may already have in your kitchen, in your pantry. So baking soda, that will increase the pH. You use a very, very little amount. Actually, I don't have it, so I'll actually be using the sodium hydroxide for this demonstration. But you can use baking soda, very, very little amount, super, super small, tiny amount, and that's going to increase the pH. And if you go over the pH, you need to decrease the pH, and for that you can use vinegar. So you can use any kind of vinegar, so white distilled vinegar, cleaning vinegar, or like apple cider vinegar. You can use any of those vinegars, or like another is like rice vinegar, and so many other ones. But any kind of vinegar is going to draw the pH because it's very acidic. So you just want to draw the pH. You're going to need your this is something that you definitely need to get. So your MS media, like with vitamins. So at Plant Cell Technology, we sell media that has everything that you need to make your tissue culture media, except for sugar and your gelling agent. So but for the sugar, again, same as the previous method, you use sugar from the grocery store. Don't buy lab grade sugar. Just regular table sugar from the grocery store is fine. ppm is great to use if you are doing tissue culture for the first time, because it is a kind of insurance where it helps you to reduce to reduce the amount of contaminants, your fungal and bacteria. And then you have your plant growth regulator. So I would recommend to get the ones that are already in like solution. So you can get those from us as well at the Plant Cell Technology store. So again, I'm going to be using BAP and IBA. I'm going to be making the same media I just did the two previous times. I need a low multiplication media, so I just going to do it and doing the same thing. And lastly, I just need agar or gel gum. I actually, for this method, I want to use both and not together. I just want to show you how I'm going to be adding. I want to do 5 for 1 liter. I do like 10 deli containers. So I want to do 5 with agar and 5 with gel gum. I'm going to show you how I do that. And for the personal protective equipment, so you have my gloves, and you can use a mask. Now, so I add a mask just to be careful, because some of these powder are very fine. So you can use a medical mask just to kind of to protect you from the powder, because it's really fine. You don't want to get it in your nose. So that's pretty much what we use a mask. But I'm not using a mask in the video because that will make it my voice a little harder for you to hear. All right, so how to make tissue culture media for the first time. So the procedure is the same thing, very similar. So let me, again, I'm going to be using this, 1 second, this thing. And again, you can pause, you can go back and pause the instructions if you want to do that. All right, so I want to grab my water and I want to add about 800 milliliters of water. There we go, so 800 milliliters of water. Next, I want to add 1/8 of a cup of sugar. So 1/8, here is 1/8. Make sure it's flush. So 1/8, there we go. So 1/8, so that's done. Next, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of MS media with vitamins. So I have my MS media with vitamins. I'm going to grab my teaspoon. I'm sorry if I say tablespoon before. I'm not sure. It's just 1 teaspoon. So there we go, 1 teaspoon. So that gives me close to 4.5 to 5 grams of MS. Next, I want to add 20 drops of ppm. So previously I had my ppm in like this bottle, and I had this in this also ppm. So if you have the starting bundle, the Plant Cell Technology starting bundle, it includes one of these things, which is amazing because it's a dropper. So what 20 drops? So in liquid, you have like water. 20 drops is the same as 1 milliliter, or very close to 1 milliliter of water. So basically the same thing. This is just liquid, so it's very similar consistency as water. So 20 drops of ppm is going to be very close to 1 milliliter of ppm. So that's why I'm going to add 20 drops. So let's go. So let's count together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So 20 drops. So I've essentially added 1 milliliter of ppm. Next, I'm going to add 20 drops of my BA or BAP right here. Now I don't have this on a dropper. I don't have another dropper, so I actually want to cheat and use my micro pipette. So I just want to set this up to 1 milliliter. But let's say you can add this to, if you have this in like a dropper, just add 20 drops. Or if you have a syringe, which is probably the easiest way to do it, just purchase a 1 milliliter syringe and do like that. And some other like a super cheap plastic disposable micro pipettes. Those are also great for this. So I have a 1 milliliter of BAP. There we go, 1 milliliter of BAP. Trash. Next, I will add 2 drops of IBA. Now, what 2 drops? You remember that for IBA, I use 0.1 milliliter. So that means it is 10 times less than 1 milliliter. So if I'm doing 20 milliliters for what? I'm sorry, 20 drops for 1 milliliter. If I do 2 drops, that's equivalent to 0.1 milliliter. But again, I don't have another dropper, so I just want to cheat and use my micro pipette. So I just have to adjust this back to 0.1. There we go. Now I'm going to fill the rest of the water. Now I'm going to fill the rest of the water to the 1000 milliliter mark. It's hard to see on this measuring cup. There we go. So 1 milliliter of water. Oh, it has a little bit of trash on it. Hold on. All right, so I have added my all right, so I have added my 1000 milliliters of water. Now I haven't mixed this yet, so before I calibrate my pH, I need to make sure this is well mixed. So again, you can use like a big spoon, but because I have this thing, I just want to give it a try. So I just want to place this in here. How do you secure? Okay, there we go. And just going to go up and down. So let me show you like this. Hold on. Let's see better. So you just go like this, and then you just kind of mix everything together. So I just want to do this until everything has been dissolved, so especially the sugar. There we go. So that looks great. So I just want to open this up again, put this to the side, and I'm going to place my pH meter, which again I had to rinse before I use it. So take out the cap. So where's my water? Here it is. I'm going to rinse the probe before I use the pH meter. I'm going to drop this in here. Turn this on. And actually I had to get rid of this, unfortunately. So I just want to use the same probes kind of to mix it together, and then like I said, I will use the baking soda, but I don't have baking soda, unfortunately. But you will use like super tiny amount. Just add it there, and then it's going to go up. And if you go more than you need to take it back down. Just use some vinegar. So it's going to grab the my sodium hydroxide here, and I just kind of mix it using the probe as I add a little bit, 1 drop at a time. Seven. There we go. So that's pretty good. 5.79. Can I get to 5.8? There we go, 5.8. So my media is ready. There we go. So let's give this a little shake. Move this out of the way. All right, so my media is ready to go. Now I'm going to, again, now this is where we are on the point where we can, hold on, let me pull out the camera. All right, so my media is ready. So we are on the point that we can either boil it like I did on the previous method to make sure the gelling agent has been dissolved, or I can pour it. Let me show you a pretty cool hack on how to do gelling agent. So I'm going to grab my deli containers. All right, so I have my deli containers, and as the same thing as I did on the previous method, I want to grab the smaller measuring cup, and I'm going to add 100 milliliters to each deli containers. Now keep in mind, I have not added my gelling agent yet. I just want to pour it as liquid on each deli container. There we go. So I have added my media to my deli containers. It does not have any gelling agent. So now let me show you the hack or this very cool trick. So I want to start with the gel gum. Oh, I'm sorry, with the agar. So let me open my agar here. And this is where I'm going to use the other 2 spoons. So the 1/4 of a teaspoon, one of these gives me about 0.8 grams, which if we're doing 8 grams per liter, that is equivalent of doing 0.8 grams. I'm sorry, it's 0.8 grams is equivalent to doing 8 grams per liter. And because I added 100 milliliters on each, all I have to do is just grab one of these, make sure it's flush, and then I just have to add it. I can just add it directly into my deli container like this. And I know I want to have the same consistency on all of them. So just like this. I still need to boil it. It's going to boil in the microwave, which is going to dissolve everything. As it boils, it's going to dissolve everything. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a mix, and that's it. That's all I had to do. So that was my agar. So which equivalent of 0.8 grams. Next, I'm going to do my gel and gum. With gel and gum, I do about half the amount. So 3 grams to 3 to 4 grams of gel and gum. So what I'm going to do is just going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon. So 1/8 of a teaspoon is going to give me the equivalent to like approximately like 3 grams per liter. So I just want to like this and add it directly into my media on the deli container. There we go. Perfect. And pretty much I'm ready to go. Next, I grab my lids. I'm going to put the lids on each of the deli containers. There we go. So you can see how easy this method is. I didn't have to use a magnetic stirrer. I did not have to use a scale. That was very simple. I just had to use some measuring cups, and that's pretty much it. I just want to give it a little bit of a shake. It doesn't have to be too much. I just want to use a little bit shake. And now I want to take this to the microwave. So let me show you. Welcome to my kitchen. I have placed 5 of the deli containers. These are the ones with the agar here in my microwave. And I just want to close this up. So I want to do cook time 10 minutes, power level to 50%, and start. And usually this is a 1000 watts microwave. This is like a medium size microwave, so it's 1000 watts, and I have found that 10 minutes at 50% power does a pretty good job sterilizing deli containers like this. You have a larger microwave or a smaller microwave, you may have to give a little adjustments. Now this method it's not like, I don't fully trust the microwave. I have a little bit of contamination using this method. It's not too bad. Maybe around 100 deli containers I may get close to like 5. So I get about 95% success rate using the microwave. But when I use the pressure cooker, I have pretty much everything is sterile 100%. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so it has been 10 minutes, and before it starts beeping back on me, I just want to open and close. And I want to leave this in there in the microwave for like 5, maybe like 10-15 minutes until it has cooled down enough where I can close the lids and take them out. Alright, so it has been close to 15 minutes. So now what I'm going to do is just going to close all the lids of the deli containers before I take them out of the microwave. There we go. And I want to grab them. Look at this, has been dissolved, but I used to make sure, just give it a shake like this, and this is ready to go. So I just want to take them out. So just before you take them out, shake them. There we go. And now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab the other deli containers that had the gel and gum, and I'm going to microwave this same time 10 minutes at 50% power. Remember to keep the lids open, not open, just on top of them, like this. Again, close the microwave. Cook time 10 minutes, power level 50%, and there we go. So this is the medium that I use microwave with the agar. I want to show you when it solidifies. Alright, so this is a recap of all the media I made for this video. So this is the media that I made like pro, how to make it like a pro. So this is the one I pour in the hood, so the petri dishes. And this is the daily containers that I pour in the hood as well. They're still a little soft. They haven't solidified completely. Then I have, this is the media that I made on like the second method on how to sterilize this using the the media when I boil it. And you can see this is looks perfect. This is agar. You can see perfect, very nice. For all of them, all of them, they are the same. They are very consistent because I boil the media before I pour it. And this is the one for Gelen, for the last method, or how to make media for the first time, where I didn't use a measuring scale. I just used my measuring spoons. And this is the one for Gelen gum. So it looks pretty good. You can see how transparent it is. Look at this, nice. It has solidified perfectly fine. So these are the ones that I just put the little spoon on it, and you can see they look great. And the last ones are the agar. And again, there is basically no difference. There are no difference between the ones that I made, like these ones where I boil it first, and the ones that I just pour the little spoon, and then I just made this in the microwave. So these were sterilized in the pressure cooker, and this in the microwave. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have never done tissue culture media, I hope this helps help you out. Now again, you can check the link down in the description for the tissue culture masterclass that is coming up on September 23 and 24. And other than that, I will see you next time. Goodbye. Thanks for watching the video. If you are enjoying these tissue culture videos, make sure to follow us on social media for more informative content. And if you are interested on conducting your own tissue culture experiments, make sure to check us out at plantsafetechnology.com for all the products you need to get started. Use code FP10 for 10% off on your first purchase.